Hello, everyone. My name is Ben, and I'm from American Express. And I'm here to share a little bit of our journey with Go and how we went from a proof of concept to writing some of our most critical applications in Go and running them in production. So, before I get into the journey, um, let me introduce myself. So, my name is Ben Kane, and I am a distinguished engineer at American Express. My current area of focus is the American Express payment network. Now, I've been working in technologies for a very long time now. Uh, Last 10 years of them have been American Express, and I'm actually celebrating my 10-year anniversary here at MX pretty soon. Um, Now, in the time that I've been at American Express, I've been focused on very high throughput distributed systems, working on both the infrastructure and software engineering sides, kind of different roles at different times, but kind of both sides of that fence. And important for this conversation and this talk is I've been working with Go professionally for the past 5+ years. So that's a little bit about me. So why don't we start talking about American Express's journey with Go? It all started roughly late 2016, where a group of engineers who were working on our payments and rewards platforms, we saw that the programming language landscape started to change, and we were looking to rewrite some very core pieces of our platform, some very critical pieces. And we wanted to see what these newer languages had to offer. And some of them promised, you know, working well in this low latency area that we're really aiming for. High volumes, low latency, infrastructure, networking type components. And we wanted to see what would work best. So what we did is we create a proof of concept, a programming language showdown, where we'd write the same service in multiple different languages. And we would test each of those services from a performance perspective and other characteristics to see which language was the best for what we were looking for. And what we were looking for was something that we could write services and platforms that can handle very high volumes of traffic at a very low latency per request. High volumes, low latency. And we're looking for something that was also very easy to develop with, something that provided modern tooling. Traditionally, in the language space that you would use for low latency, modern tooling isn't always there, right? The languages are there, but they don't always have the best developer experience. We were looking for something that blended best of both worlds. Spoiler alert, we chose Go. Choosing Go, though, wasn't just it was the fastest, so let's go with Go. Actually, it was not that case. Go wasn't the fastest language that we tested. It was pretty quick, and it was definitely fast enough, but it wasn't the fastest. What we found is there were other characteristics about Go that we really liked. For example, while Go may not have been the fastest, it was very easy to write languages that handle lots of concurrent services that handle lots of concurrency. We wanted to make sure that we can create these services very easily without having to manage lots of thread pools and manage a lifecycle of a thread. With Go, you can do that with Go routines and how Go handles concurrency. It's very easy to work with. Now, another thing we also liked is the fact that Go is a compiled application. It's pre-compiled. You just start it up and it's ready to go. Whereas some of the other languages we looked at were just-in-time compiled. And when you start those applications up, the virtual machine compiles the code into bytecode. And when it does that, there's a performance penalty. It's called warm-up time. And with Go, there is no warm-up time. It's ready to go. With those languages, that performance penalty can really slow down that service. So while that service may be able to hit a high number eventually, when it's starting, it's sometimes half of that. And that was really key for us because this platform is high volume all the time, 24/7. So we need a service that can start up and be able to handle high volumes immediately. Now, from a performance perspective, we liked Go. It was easy to work with. It was easy to write high performance applications. And that's what we really liked about Go, is just how easy it was. It was easy for us to learn, and it was easy for us to quickly become effective in writing stable applications in Go. And a lot of that is due to the built-in testing and benchmarking frameworks. It's very easy to write high quality Go code and high testable Go code, and that led us to writing more effective Go code. And it really didn't take us long to go from learning about Go to writing a very fast service in Go. Now, if you want to learn more about this little proof of concept we did, we published this as a case study on the go.dev website. You can go check it out, look for American Express. It goes in detail about what decisions we made, what we liked about Go, what we didn't like about Go, and all of it's there as of 2016's proof of concept. Now, fast forward, years later, we're running Go in production. We were able to write those key services in Go. We were able to meet our low latency requirements and be able to handle our large volumes that we were looking at. And we've even had some situations where in production we've had unexpected bursts of traffic, and we've been able to scale to meet those needs. And it's been great. From a performance perspective, Go's not let us down. Now, we've also found that our engineers are actually spending less time writing Go code than some of the other code that's out there. A lot of our Go builds are averaging about a tenth of the time spent building versus other services that are comparable. And this piece, I think, is very important, especially for us, where we're high transaction volume. We need to be very quick and very performant. We've actually spent less time tuning our Go applications versus some of our other applications. And a big piece of that is if you look at our space, one of the things that we were really worried about was garbage collection time and stop the world pauses. And what we see with Go is our stop the world time is actually extremely low. We don't really have to worry about that too much. We actually, with Go, are spending our time tuning other things like how we're doing things, writing more efficient Go code, and how many Go routines we have, and managing that, and making sure we have just the right amount. But overall, we've spent less time tuning our Go code than some of our other code. That's actually been really beneficial for us. We've been able to focus more on building more efficient applications from the start. Now, another benefit that we didn't expect going into this, but we're not going to complain about, is we're actually seeing a lot of our Go services use less CPU and memory when compared to another service that's very similar. We're able to actually meet and sometimes even exceed the performance of those other services with less CPU and less memory. And overall, that's led to less of a infrastructure capacity required to run some of our Go services. It's overall infrastructure savings. And that's something I'm also hearing from other industries and other enterprises out there, is that as they've used Go, they've actually decreased some of their infrastructure costs. It's very key when you have lots of applications. For an enterprise, that's a very kind of a great bonus. Now, speaking of being an enterprise, as an enterprise, you obviously are going to have a lot of things out there, a lot of tooling that exists today. One of the areas that we were kind of worried about at first was our observability tools. When we start these Go services and when we run them in production, are we going to be able to monitor them? Are we going to be able to pull metrics and tracing and logging from our Go services like we do with other services? And we've actually been pretty successful with that. It is a lot less work than we expected, integrating Go with a lot of our enterprise observability tools. it's been great. We've been able to do it, and we haven't had any real issues with it. That's not to say there haven't been challenges along the way. The biggest challenge with Go has actually not been anything to do with the language, but more the decision to use the language. So, like I said, the proof of concept started with a group of core engineers who looked at the languages and felt Go was the right decision. And of course, those engineers had to convince their leaders and senior leaders, and we had to make the case for Go in the enterprise. But it wasn't an easy case. When you're a big enterprise like American Express, you have lots of different teams. You have lots of tooling in place today, lots of CI/CD tooling, monitoring, deployment tools, and they work with a set of languages and they work how they work. And when you make a choice to allow one team to use a new language, you have to basically also concede that those enterprise offerings are going to support that language. How many teams are going to end up writing in this language in the long run? Is it going to be isolated, or are you going to open the door for everyone? And that was some of the conversations we had to have. At the end of the day, we made the bet on Go. As an enterprise, we said we're going to allow this, and we're going to see how this goes with a couple of platforms at first, and then open the door more wide. And of course, as we went down that journey, some of our internal tooling wasn't ready. We had to go off-roading a little bit, especially around CI/CD and some of our dependency management. And that was very true early on, before GoMod became more, popular and mainstream. We had a lot of challenges of working with dependency management within our corporate network, but we worked through all that. Now that's pretty much not a problem at this point. Now, another kind of challenge along the way was, while Go is easy to learn, when you have a lot of teams working with Go, it takes time to train those engineers. You can't expect an engineer just to pick up Go over the weekend. You want to give them time. You want to train them, and you want to create the resources and create the facility for them to take that time and take that training and all of the information you can give them for learning Go and apply it and learn how to write good idiomatic Go. And some of that comes with experience. And as we were getting and gaining our experience, we created some bugs, and we fixed them. And actually, an interesting side note is concurrency is very easy in Go, sometimes a little too easy. And one of the things that we ran into early days in us using Go is actually creating bugs around Go routine cleanup and coordinating between Go routines. And that concurrency was so easy that we actually created some problems for ourselves. And we actually ended up becoming better engineers for it. We learned about those issues, we worked through them, and we fixed those issues. And at the end of the day, our Go code is better, and we write better Go. We still have some challenges along the way, especially as we scale Go development across the company. So we have, team over here writing Go code. We have a team over here writing Go code. How do we make sure that the code they write looks the same? How do we establish best practices and create standards that all the teams are going to follow and all the teams like, right? Because of course you can define best practices, but if a team doesn't like those best practices, it's going to be hard to get them to follow it. So how do you create these things? How do you define them? How do you make sure Go is consistent from this team to that team and across the enterprise? And another thing that we're kind of seeing as a challenge is kind of team level hesitation to adopt Go. So you have a team and they may already have a platform, and that platform may already be written in another language. Taking on Go as a new service, maybe it's the right choice. Maybe there's a lot of things about Go that they really enjoy and they like. But taking that and running it in production, now you have two languages you need to worry about. How do you manage that? And how do you make that easier? How does teams deal with having a platform that supports two languages? And of course, with that, is how do you scale teaching Go to all these teams? How do you get all these teams writing good idiomatic Go? How do you get them to write it the same way all the time? And how do you scale that training? So, what has not been a challenge is actually getting our engineers excited about Go. We've actually been able to create a great internal community of Go practitioners. Our internal Go channel has over 600 engineers. And what we've actually seen is a couple of core Go engineers create a Go internal Go user group with many engineers kind of participating. They've created monthly meetups where engineers from across the company will come and share their experiences with Go. Some will share their side projects, some will share their things they're working on, some of the things they've learned. And it's a great kind of internal community just brewing. And this group has also created a yearly Gopher conference with external speakers, and we'll bring people in and talk about Go and their experiences with Go at their company and what they've done. And we've been able to have 2 of these so far, with the third one planned for this year. And they've been great. We've gotten great turnout. People love these conferences. Um, and what's come of those is actually groups have been formed that have been starting to create a how to go documentation. A lot of those best practices and standards, the internal community is starting to create and starting to define. And we feel like that's the best way to actually create these is getting folks from all around the enterprise kind of contributing and defining that. That way, they'll use it because they're the ones creating it. And of course, with that also goes creating an internal set of packages and a library of packages that teams can use to build Go services and build those services easier. We have things that are for resiliency. We have things that work with internal tools and services. And how do you kind of make that easier to work with? And this internal community is growing and building these things. And that actually kind of leads me into Go used in other parts of the company. We've seen kind of the payments and rewards platforms, and we've talked about that in our case study and kind of throughout the slide, but Go is also used in lots of other places within the company. In fact, our InfoSec team has really embraced Go. They have lots of tools and scanners and things like that written in Go. And one of those is actually a open source project called Earlybird. And they use that to scan code repos for application secrets. If anyone wants to check that out, it's out there available on GitHub. We've also seen a lot of our infrastructure teams looking at Go, like our API gateway team has been looking at Go and WebAssembly and how they can use WebAssembly to kind of enhance our API gateways. And then our internal service mesh team also has an internal discovery service written in Go. And a big one that I think is worth kind of calling out is a lot of our internal platform teams have decided to use Go for their platform services. And I think this is key because Go is not just a great language to write a platform service, it's actually a great language to create command line tools with. And a lot of these platform teams, they want to have a service and command line tools that they can give to developers and let those developers interact with their services. And by having one language that can do both is really powerful for them. They can save a lot of energy by just having kind of one focus. And we're seeing that kind of drive a lot of those platform services teams to using Go because it's great for both. And then, of course, we're also seeing Go get used for a lot of our REST and gRPC-based services, a lot of our application backends. And we're seeing Go kind of grow in our application backend space. And we're seeing more and more Go every day. And that's where we're using Go in other parts of the company. If any of this sounds interesting to you, American Express is hiring. Check out our open positions at americanexpress.com/techcareers. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or my website, you can see how to get a hold of me there. Thank you, everyone.